Welcome to the Beautiful Game. As always, I'm Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
Every squirrel finds a nut. Every squirrel finds a nut. And Chelsea found two.
And today it's going to be a glorious day of talking about just football, guys. Just football. Chelsea, they got in there. Arsenal, they say the best game has ever been in the Emirates. And then on the other side of the country,
English Premier League, Manchester United.
Is that a pig? What the hell is going on?
It's just, I just found me some fun coverage internationally of people.
There was like a squeal.
Yeah, he's losing it.
What the hell?
I think I sent you guys that video. I believe.
I think so.
I don't know. I kind of stopped clicking on links.
You're like, I'm not on this text thread. I'm not going to respond to anything else. I can't say as I blame you. All right, so a lot of things happened. I don't know if you guys heard. Liverpool played. We'll talk about them. As I said, Arsenal had a crazy game. We'll look at some of the other results from around the league, and then back by popular demand, it's the sultry swindler of swine. And Ron returns from his travels for an all-new Ron's Beer News before we end with a little bit of Champions League update in this week's La Liga's roundup. Because some stuff happened today out in the Champions League. Yeah, it did.
And all sorts of Champions Leagues.
A lot of folks, some folks leaving. So before we get there, we got to do our beer.
Exciting.
Yeah, Ferris, you can do another Manchester beer this week. She's doing last week.
Thankfully, I drank them all last week.
Okay, good.
That would have been a tad bit embarrassing. But we can go first. Ron, do you want to introduce this one?
Sure. So I just got back from Whistler, which is in Vancouver, Canada. And because I was sharing a suitcase with my wife, I wasn't actually able to bring any beer back because we were overweight on all the beer. On all the baggage. So I couldn't actually bring beer back. But it was nice to come home to some warmer weather and some nicer weather. So I snagged for tonight's pod a tropical beer hug to welcome me back to Florida.
As you do.
This is a Goose Island beer, 9.9% alcohol, because it's an Imperial IPA, a double dry hopped.
That's 2.9 goals away from what Liverpool scored against United.
Yep. It's a light amber color. The hops, there's a boatload of hops in this beer. Nugget, Sultana, Citra, Mosaic, Eureka, Azeka, and Strata hops, all in this one beer. So it's either going to peel our teeth back or
be extremely smoothly dangerous.
Yeah. The malts are Pilsner malt and Carahel. And then the flavor should be bursting with notes of mango, pineapple, peach, and citrus.
That sounds good.
Yeah. And I'll tell you about the rest of the beers that I had in Vancouver when we get to the beer news.
When what was it? The sultry swindler of the swine?
The sultry swindler of swine. That's
man.
I keep wondering if you'll have another one for next week, and you always do.
They just come to me.
I picked up a beer from One Pontoon Brewing, located in Georgia. This is I hope you guys can see this. Check Yourself, written as Czech, Chech, and it's got an otter that's done up like Mr. T, and it is a Czech Pilsner from from Pontoon Brewing. A group founded by longtime pals and homebrewers passionate about developing awesomely scrumptious beer for the pontoon lifestyle. So like if you go on their website, like it's all just like It's just like Captain Hats and hanging out on the lake, man. It's literally
Awesome.
what they brewing for. Yeah, exactly. And I've yet to have one of their beers, so I'm excited to give one a try from Pontoon Brewing.
Oh, sweet. Check out the can art on the beer hug.
Oh, that's nice.
It's a beer. It's a grizzly bear with a cool set of Ray-Bans on, and everything is all like tropical, bright neon-y kind of colors. And this is actually part of a series for Goose Island.
It's very like Miami meets Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a bear.
And-
I got an otter. That's fitting.
Nice. There's 2 other beers in the beer hug line from Goose Island.
Is it Cocaine Bear IPA?
Right.
Oh yeah, baby. I can't wait to see that one.
It's a hazy beer hug and a neon beer hug.
Even more neon than this. Interesting.
Yeah.
I almost had a hazy one today. I had a tough choice. I got a lot of beer variety up in the fridge right now. All right, here we go. Ron was trying to talk, and Ferris was pre-cracking his beer because he knows he's got to talk about Manchester United.
I was ready to go. The odd thing is that I actually I have a flask to my left.
I was going to say,
So I was like, I almost just did a shot in a beer.
I was wondering if you had any Jameson handy.
I have a flask because I was meeting with my sister earlier, and some of the Jameson I brought back from Ireland she hadn't tried yet. So I had gotten the damn cork stuck in the bottle. It when I went to pull it out, it ripped, and it was a mess. So I just put it all in a flask and called it a day. So
Classy. All
As
right,
you do.
gents. Cheers.
cilantro.
Cheers, gents.
Well, yeah, baby, I could drink this all day sitting out on a boat.
Oh, this one punches you in the mouth a little bit.
Smooth up first, strong right hook, and then a
the-
nice body blow to like end it.
Oh, right in the old bread basket.
I didn't even check what my ABV was on this, but I'm gonna assume it's not too crazy. So
5.2.
It's a
that
Czech Pilsner, so it should be pretty low.
yeah, that'd be my
I'd be
guess.
I'd be surprised if it's
Four?
higher than 5.5.
4.5 actually. It was truly
Nice.
a little session pilsner.
Sling some of those back all day long.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, shall we move on to the football, gentlemen?
No, I think we got to skip to Ron's beer news first.
Oh, you don't. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, we
Now
have
we might as well get it out of the way.
Well, speaking of slinging them back, they were slinging them in. The goal, that is. Over is Liverpool humble Manchester United at Anfield by a staggering score of 7-0.
You know what's interesting about the end of this game?
What's that?
Liverpool were in 7th heaven.
The dad jokes.
At least go with the obvious. Like they even made the extra point. Like, come on.
I liked 7th heaven.
Yeah,
Thought
it
it
was.
was clever.
Seventh Heaven. Yeah, that was on like what, the CW back in the day.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I switched over to the game. My wife was like, it's like a baseball score. What's happening over there right now?
Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't even on a pitch count this time or clock that they're doing now.
so
Anyways,
and it's led by Gakpo, Nunez, and Salah grabbing 2 goals apiece. Salah looking every bit the Pharaohs. He
yeah, where's
breaks-
he been all season?
breaks the record, right? For goals for Liverpool, Premier League goals for Liverpool. Was that what it
The
was?
second
Yeah.
goal did.
So, yeah. And the let's see, with 1 foot out the door, in Bobby Chomper's Firmino grabbing the 7th in the 88th minute after those first 6 goals were scored. The 6-goal second half was not only to the delight of all Liverpool faithful as a possible spark of propulsion up the league places for the remaining 12 matches, but also hands their rivals United their worst loss in Premier League history. That's the problem, isn't it? If you beat them next year, both matches 1-0, they'll still talk so much crap.
But
Yeah, it's going
You
to
know-
happen no matter
Yeah.
what.
yeah, no, true.
Even if
You
they
know,
blank them
right.
next year.
I saw some stat about, or I saw some ESPN post about Ten Hag said before the year something they were asking about City and Liverpool, and he, I'm going to paraphrase the hell out of this, but he basically said, at some point their time will fall, right? And they're like, well, this quote didn't hold well. Well, but here's the thing: United, we split the home and away with both teams. We beat Man City and we beat Liverpool at home. They beat us. Now, they just beat us by a hell of a lot more than we beat each of them.
Yeah, you're out of the Champions League at this point. Yeah, by aggregate, you're gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but way gone. And the thing was that it wasn't a bad game for United. It was an absolutely fucking horrible second half. 6 of the goals were scored in the second half. In fact, the first half, United were the better team. More shots on target. That goal came at the very end. It was a well-taken goal. It wasn't until goal like 5, 6, and 7 started to roll in where just bounces were going like, I think Scott McTominay cut out one, and then it bounced off of it. The ball was just bouncing every which way, and they were getting every bounce. But to their credit, they buried every bounce and just kept piling in the goals. I got a little upset when Salah scored, what was it, the 6th, and took his shirt off. Like, I was thinking, like, this is like, like NHL, and it's you're putting 6 goals by, like there's a fight that's about to break out, and then you realize that it's his goal that he scored the most for Liverpool, yada yada. So, there's nothing really to be said besides Liverpool just looked like what they should have looked like all season, and that front three should have been doing since the turn of the year, and they whooped United's ass in the second half.
So the question that everyone will look back to at this match, obviously, will be, is this the turning point where the two lines diverge? Is this a propulsion for Liverpool? Is it a crumbling for Man United?
Possibly for both. Sure.
I think it's no one knows, obviously. I'm not suggesting that fact at all.
I think, and we had talked on air, we would be surprised if Liverpool went the entire season in the form that they had been going, right? Losing 1-0 to Forest, losing 3-0 to Wolves. On that form, you're like, at some point they got to turn it around, right?
Yeah.
And this may be that point, right? It's when you break down the totality of the season, it is still one half of soccer, of football. It's not like it was 7-0 spread across the entire game where you look back and you go, tactics were extremely wrong, yada, yada, yada. United had some extremely terrible players. Ten Hag did not mince words in saying there was 11 individuals out there, and Liverpool just picked United apart. They looked every bit of what everybody expects that front three of Liverpool to look, every bit of what that back four should be. Like, Trent Alexander-Arnold put in a sliding tackle to like save a goal. Like, he doesn't know how to play defense. At least he hasn't played it all season, but he certainly did in this one. Van Dijk looked like the multi-million-dollar center back that they bought. Liverpool looked the way that everybody thought they would look going into the season, but haven't looked until May 3rd or March,
right?
Whatever we're in. So it could be, to answer your question, it could be a line in both sands for that. I think we will see what United's next few games hold if the mentality is there. This also could have been a strong kick in the ass back to reality. You're now, humbled a lot. Not even a bit. You're humbled a lot. And because you won one piece of silverware for the first time in 6 years, you're still not anywhere near where United should be. And hopefully,
a little drunk off the win. The interesting thing is your next few games, Real Betis in Europa League, then they have Southampton in the Premier League, then right back to Real Betis in Europa. Your Brighton match was postponed. You go to Fulham in the FA Cup quarters, and then you're at Newcastle in April 2nd. So you don't have I don't think you have too hard a schedule for your next, 5 games getting into April.
And the hard part is there's been 2 games. United has played 2 games since the start of the new year. Since essentially the World Cup's been back, they've played 2 games a week. They have played the most games out of any top 5 team. Any top any team in the top 5 leagues. That's not an excuse in this match. It by no way should be. How they respond and how they move forward, and what I think United and Ten Hag and his staff has to look at is when things go pear-shaped, how to not get these lopsided results. Like at 2-0, to maybe button up shop, stop the eating, and not keep trying to attack and do your own style is a little surprising. You know, you see a lot of the teams in the lower half of the table change that to not let Man City score 6 goals on them. They just pack in and, 10 behind the ball and just not let it bleed that much. United were a bit stubborn and still trying to think that they could counter and go forward and get goals, and Liverpool just picked them apart from that. The other thing I will say is, guess who wasn't in this match?
Rashford, right?
No, he started.
Well, he was a ghost for majority of it. No, Harry Maguire never stepped foot. But you know who was? Diego Dalot. Whatever the his name is, I don't know how many times I have to say this. He's useless. Absolutely useless. He's the one I talked about all last year of being to blame for defense. Not all 7 goals were on him, but he's just trotting up field. I'm having a jolly old time here at Anfield. I'm going to try to put a cross in. Let me just score a goal. Fuck you, get your ass back and play defense.
He has one bad game and a string of really good games, and he's off Ferris's Christmas card list.
That was a question that when Phil and I sat down at the Barrel Room at Crooked Can to watch the game, I said, why is he starting? Gakpo is going to tear him apart. If they switch and Salah's over there, they're going to tear him apart. He's going to get caught too high up, and that's exactly what happened. You look at that first goal, how high up he was caught up high. Bissaka was the better play there, in my opinion, for his ability to track back, his ability to tackle, his ability to put in a late tackle through how good he is with his legs and he slides. Dalot is just there. It boggles my mind. With that said, he was not the only person that had an absolutely horrid game. Varane, Martinez, Bruno. I mean, you go boom, 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 boom. It's just Liverpool whooped our ass.
So this is what you get for us doing a pod after Chelsea had a terrible game. And we just talked about Chelsea for 45 minutes. Ferris, it was football karma coming back.
That's exactly what
coming
it is.
Back against you.
That's exactly what it is.
So one kind of controversy. I have 2 things. One kind of controversy that comes out of this is the Weghorst.
I saw that
slapping the Anfield sign.
Thank you, Ron. I forgot to bring that up. Yes,
that. He says he was trying to put Virgil van Dijk off his game. Clearly that didn't work.
Did not work. Yeah.
And the Man United faithful are just shredding him for going to Anfield and slapping the sign.
it's like when there's in a movie and there's like a somebody caught by terrorists or whatever, and they're like winking the Morse code or something. Like, he was like, "Get me out, get me out, get me out."
No, you know what? It a bit weird. He came out, he explained it. Okay, we're not in the moment. We don't have the relationship that the players do. They play on the national team together. Okay. I'm not fully buying it, but it is what it is. You watch what Weghorst did in the cup final the week before and how much he appreciates being at that club and loves playing for the club. I don't think it had anything negatively.
He's on loan from Burnley?
Well, was on loan from a Turkish team, was on loan from Burnley, so I don't know where his actual loan
he actually is on loan initially from Chelsea. That's pretty much how it works for everyone.
all signs point back to Stamford Bridge.
It's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, right. But with Chelsea.
6 degrees of Stamford Bacon.
That actually is probably a game you could totally play.
100%.
Oh, I bet you could do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
The other thing is, in this match, this isn't going to be popular, but in this match, I felt like Ferris feels about Saka, I felt about Bruno Fernando. Right?
Fernandez.
Whatever his last name is. Don't care. Either way, he goes down in that like a primo stuntman.
The one where he grabs his face after he got like lightly touched.
In fairness, he did get hit in the face.
No,
Not that bad. He got hand touched face. He went down as if he was just shot by a hyper in a who's the guy that pans the Transformers and all of
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay film. He
okay.
looks like he just got shot by a sniper in a Michael Bay film.
I mean, that was some primo acting.
I think if you look on our Instagram page, the interview that Phil gave me after the Arsenal and United match and talked about Bruno being that way. Yes, he can be a. Yeah, he absolutely.
No, I don't think it's a can. I think it is.
Fair enough.
Just
he had a horrid game, made bad decisions. He got roasted for being the captain, yada yada yada. And you look, hopefully Ten Hag and him. Ten Hag had to come out and say he's still our captain if Maguire's not in. Everybody's prone to having a bad outing and not doing things the right way and making a mistake. It's how he learns and goes about that forward. There's no doubting the amount of heart that he plays with and the amount of tracking and that sort of things that he does. It was not his best game in this, and he was a on several occasions.
Yeah, and then the other thing is he should have gotten a penalty or penalized, maybe not in the game, but afterwards for shoving the ref.
He should not have.
Yes, he should.
No, because you want to know why? And Dermot Gallagher, who Blake loves to bring up on this pod all the damn time about, he said this, is you look at what the assistant ref did, grabbed him by the arm. He made first contact and grabbed Bruno. When have you ever seen any sort of official grab a player?
Lots of times.
Especially a linesman. Well,
lots of times.
No. Show me one other example where they will grab
I will get YouTube out after this pod and show you. Because the reason I think he should have gotten in trouble is because
grabbed his arm.
Because every time there is some call that players in general, Chelsea, Arsenal, every team in the league, they don't agree with, the first thing they do is they rush to the ref, right? And they manhandle the ref, right? There's a great video online of what a referee has to deal with because the referee was wearing a body cam during a specific match. And there's constantly pushing and cajoling of the ref and the linesman. When the linesman calls a ball that goes the other way or calls a penalty, the first thing people do, like Granit Xhaka is famous for doing, is get right in the ref's face and scream bullshit and, manhandle the refs.
Sure.
It should be that you touch them at all.
So, but that does not give the assistant referee the okay to touch a player. That's not how that works. If you grab me by my arm...
I'm not saying he can. I'm not saying he's allowed to.
So that's where Dermot Gallagher was saying, hey, both were in the wrong here. Let it...
No, I don't think so because...
Well, it was. He didn't think so. It was. They just...
No. It's still bull. It's still bull because...
So then you find him...
How about you listen? Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the ref is not grabbing him and yanking him or shoving him. He is guiding him away from the other player. That's total bullshit.
You do not see the ref move at all.
Yes, you do. The ref is standing in his way, and he goes and shoves him in the back.
He does not. The ref does not move at all. The ref does not move
either way. He should have been fined for it. I'm not saying he should have gotten 5 games, but
same with the ref. If you were going to do anything, you find one, you find the other.
You have seen...
You cannot grab a player.
He didn't grab a player.
He sure did.
He guided him away from the event.
No, you watched it again. He grabbed his arm.
Every ref will get in between players who are about to fight.
That's not the case.
They do it all the time.
He grabbed Bruno Fernandez's arm.
No, he guided him away.
Watch it again.
He may have guided with his arm.
On Sky Sports, this is what Dermot says. We all like getting
Go
Dermot
ahead.
involved in this.
That's exactly who I was cool.
Yeah. I mean, but I like his is the. I think once the official does it first, Fernando's almost fly swatting, got him away. I want to get on with it. I don't condone
But
it.
that happened way separate. It wasn't at the exact same time. It wasn't
was
grab arm.
Bruno
push.
and whatever defender got into a scuffle over there.
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
The assistant referee turned around and grabbed Bruno Fernandez's right arm to pull him away.
Correct. Like
And
every
then-
other ref does when there's
But
about to be a
he
fight.
grabbed his arm.
And they do it all the time when there's
No, you
a
don't.
fight.
You see
Yes,
them
you
step
do.
in. You see them step in, but
They
they do not
always
put. They
get
do
in the
not
way.
put hands on it.
They always do.
The fourth official does not put hands on any sort of
The fourth
manager.
official's not even over there.
But he's an official part of that team. The AR does
And he
not
will
does
separate-
not put hands on.
He will
If-
separate people
They will
on the
step in
sidelines
and,
when
and
they fight.
they will separate if they fight. This wasn't about to be a fight. They were trying. They
you
were
don't
trying.
think so?
No,
Bruno was chasing after him. Like,
They were-
Look
he was
what the is happening.
he was trying to get the ball back. They scuffled. Trent
and he was
Alexander
all
went.
snooty and attitude about it because
Well,
he's losing.
Okay, but that has
6-0.
nothing to do with the ref grabbing his arm
To prevent him from fighting another player.
Bruno got the ball, or Trent Alexander threw the ball. He went to go get the ball and swatted him out of the way. But the
And he
ref does not
shouldn't be.
move. The ref does not.
He shouldn't be swatting a ref.
The ref shouldn't be grabbing him. If you're putting hands on me, then Then I'm going to put hands on you
The ref is
because
not.
that shouldn't be happening.
There's two different cases here. The ref is not putting hands on Bruno in a hot-headed manner to which he is about to fight Bruno.
Bruno's not about
Fernandes.
to fight the
He
assistant
was
referee.
He was so frustrated.
He was
that-
trying to get around the referee.
No, sorry. He was trying, the referee is trying to escort Bruno away from a possible clash with Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's why he grabs his arm.
He's trying to pull him away. But there
because
was,
of to
but-
prevent a possible fight.
there was not about to be a fight.
What? Okay.
He's going to grab the ball.
And he was mad because Trent Alexander-Arnold
Correct.
kept
right.
the ball.
Yeah, but
So
he's not about to throw a punch.
leisurely
He's not
strolling
he's not
over
about
there
to
like
throw a punch or
well,
throw out a
whatever.
kick.
You just can't handle that Manchester United was wrong. Whoa.
Well,
no, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't fined or anything. And
He should
a
have been.
former refs goes, you shouldn't be grabbing a player. And that's what he
They
did.
do it all the time.
In a non-life threatening, non-violent, like a punch is about to be thrown or to step in if somebody's going to be in danger. Nobody was in danger at that at all.
Sure.
The assistant ref should not have put hands on Bruno at all. The same way that Bruno should not have put hands on the ref, but that's where Derm McGallagher is saying, it's
agree.
bygones be.
but what did Gary Neville
bygones.
say?
I don't agree with that assessment.
Gary Neville said,
I don't know. What
I've had enough of him throwing his arms around at his teammates. I've had enough of him not running back. He whinges at everybody. He got pushed in the chest and he goes down and holds his face. He's got to put a captain performance in out there. That wasn't a captain performance by a Manchester United player. That was like a good old Gary Neville.
yes.
I mean,
I've just literally got done saying he was a in this match. Absolutely. But that has nothing to do with what occurred over there and an AR ref grabbing his arm.
It's definitely like caused a big stir amongst the refereeing and like these refereeing groups.
You
and
cannot
stuff.
put hands on players in that way.
Okay,
It's
so
not
then they'll never step in and they'll never prevent anybody from slugging each other.
Well, they do actually bring up a couple instances of like other matches where players got lucky because they turned around and swung, not knowing it was a ref behind them. Then they didn't hit the ref. But yeah, a lot of people saying that you get do a 5-game suspension because they're worried that it's getting out of hand. The sort of entitlement behavior in the Premier League.
If if United would have appealed that and gone, if you're gonna suspend or fine, Bruno at all, you have to do the same to the assistant ref who put hands on him. You don't get to grab me and then me pretend like I can't touch you at all. That's not how it works.
But you were painting this scene like the referee was grabbing him in some
Grab
sort
his
of
arm.
violent manner.
And you're painting the scene as if Bruno shoved him in some sort of violent
No,
manner.
I'm painting the scene that the referee has the right to get in between players if he thinks there's
sure
going
in
to be
between,
a fight.
but not grab one player's
They do it all
arm.
the time.
He was nowhere
They do
near
it
in between.
all the time.
They do not grab players.
Yeah.
They do
Okay.
not grab.
I
players.
guess you don't watch the actual Premier
They do
League
not
then.
grab players.
If I were Manchester United, I would bench him for the next couple of games.
That's not going to happen.
Well, if you had a coach with some gumption, don't you think that would happen? Send a message.
Well, he said, Ronaldo, you can go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think you got a coach.
Rashford, you sit for a half because you were half an hour late to train.
See, so it could happen. That's what I'm saying.
But what? It's not something that you can't be like, hey, here's how you have to act. Here's how you have to do it. This is what I expect. So now I'm going to sit you for a match. One of the best players on the team. No. Maguire sits as captain because Varane and Martinez, Shaw are better than him. I mean, in fairness, he should play over a lot, but that's another.
That's a whole.
We should get Ferris a Manchester United jersey with Dalot's last name. on it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He would be so conflicted.
Oh no! The Goodwill down the street would have a nice new kit that they can give to whoever.
Well, Ferris, you ruined our ability to blame Ron for the bleeps.
I know. I
when he
wasn't. That was going to be the only. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
This
Ron pitched in. Don't worry.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There is no. Count up the all-time stats. I'm nowhere near the swears.
I lead that one by a good bit. By a good bit.
All right. Last words on the
We did
Manchester
speed it up.
United.
We're still United were Liverpool were great.
There you go. He needed to squeeze one more in for the bleep sheet.
There's not much more to say to that one.
Well, what we can say is it was an exciting game in the Emirates. As a goal, the second fastest goal in Premier League history, I think 9.11 seconds, is scored by Bournemouth. I mean, obviously that's right out of the gate in the game. And then the game ends with like barely in the clutches of seconds with Arsenal winning 3-2. What a bonkers game that was. I was like at work and trying to keep track of it, and it was making me nuts. Every time there was a lull and a break, had the game back up, and almost every time I cut it on, something insane was happening. It felt like. My favorite thing about this match, to be perfectly honest, is the reaction to the crowds. The videos of people in the streets and in the stands afterwards was pretty amazing, because that was at the Emirates. They were comparing it to one other. I think it was a Champions League match that happened at the Emirates. But as far as like a late winter crowd going bonkers, this was one of the biggest ones as far as celebrations are concerned. But Bournemouth, bam, bam, they get up quick, and then they have their first. They have the 57th minute. They score, and then Partey nets one in the 62nd minute, 70th by Ben White, and then the last one by Reece Nelson. And it should be noted, I think the story for the game is it's like all subs that make the difference. Correct me. I think the Partey goal comes from a Emile Smith-Rowe assist.
Yeah, he came in really, really early and really didn't have a great game.
No, he came in early because of an injury with Trossard.
Right. And Partey was actually to blame for the second goal of Bournemouth, and then quickly kind of atoned to his bad doing on that.
They pulled out. He pulled out Smith-Rowe. The sub got subbed, and then Reece Nelson provided the cross for Ben White, and then Reece Nelson scored.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's played the stat was like 100 minutes for this season, but he's scored like 5 goals. It's crazy, because he scored them when he needed to.
And real quick, just to hit on it while we're talking about subs, that was the difference in this game.
Yeah.
Arteta made all of the right subs. Bournemouth made all of the wrong ones.
Ooh,
as soon as Partey's goal went in, there was 2 subs by Bournemouth that took off Semenyo. I'm not even saying. I don't doubt I'm saying that right. And Zamora, and that changed their shape. That changed the game. That changed what they were trying to do. Rather than sticking with what they were doing, that goal then came 6 minutes after those 2 subs occurred. And then they made 2 more subs, which changed that shape and what they were trying to do even further.
Yeah.
And they almost got away with it. They almost held on. And then that goal, at the death. It's differences of small things that will change games, and one that if Arsenal goes on to win the Premier League, this match and the one a few weeks back against Villa, where the ball bounced off of a head there in like the 92nd, will be the matches you circle and go, this is what won us the whole thing. If Bournemouth go down, this will be a match they circle and go, this is partly why we're going down, because we had the chance to, at the very least, get a point, out of here. But we changed our shape. We changed, they didn't necessarily change the shape, right? Because they were still putting so many behind the ball, and for what Arsenal were just attack. But it changed the players' movements in that shape that kept them from conceding throughout the entire first half and parts of the second half.
Yeah, it was I don't know that I'm going to have to readjust and get some blood pressure medicine if the season keeps going on like this. That's pretty bonkers. Although enough. I was listening to, I think the Arscast, and the Invincibles year, there were 9 games that they were down and had to come back, and 6 they won, 3 they tied. So it's a thing. It's a thing they like to do right now, and it's nerve-wracking. But I'll take those 3 points any way you can get them.
Yeah, I think
fair enough.
I think, like Ferris said in the last couple pods, that if if it ain't meant to be, I don't know what is. Yes. Right? Like everything just seems to bounce their way.
These couple of games have reminded me of you were a couple years ago. It was like, oh man, like every 3 weekends you'd be like, Man City, they're going to drop points. They're losing to Burnley right now. They're losing to Burnley 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And then it'd be like the 89th minute, and they won 4-2. And everybody below is like staring up at the table, and there's a very similar vibe to it. But Reece Nelson, who has a contract up, which is really funny. And some people were thinking, well, maybe,
right?
Maybe
it always happens with the contracts up. If he just signed a new one, he's not scoring that banger. Right? But since he has a contract up, he
had the opportunity to go this year, but didn't want to. Hey, whatever. Glad he stuck around. You're awesome, Reece. Do your thing, buddy. That's fine by me. Anything else? Should we move on to the rest of the Premier League?
Yeah. I think that's about it.
All right. Man City and Newcastle, speaking of, there is no coming from behind for this. Newcastle look deflated, and they gotta pull it together. They lose to Man City 2-0 as Foden and Silva run the show for City. Now, I'm not saying losing to Man City is like a crushing thing, but it's how Newcastle's they're having a real tough time scoring. And I mean, they went from could be relegated a season or two ago to, oh man, they're fighting for a Champions League or European place. And if they keep on this, they're not going to get in Europe. And I feel like they're going to look, their season's a total bust if that's what happens after how they started.
Yeah, it's longevity here, right? It's a marathon, not a race. Since the World Cup break, they're a team that you can definitively circle and go, they have been worse for wear after the World Cup. Yep. You know that, and I think Ron, you said it. You said it to me when we were at Crooked Cam before me and Blake recorded that. Had United played prior to the World Cup, Manchester United may have lost that game. It may have been a tougher game for them on what Newcastle's form was at the time, and it's something just, whether it's tired legs, whether it's chopping and changing a little bit here and there, nothing anything big, whether it's just defending starting to be just a little bit more lax, where it's attacking not being as potent as you were. You know, you had Almiron scoring all of these goals for what September, October, and November. Dry spell for him. Isaac kind of gets back into the fray after injury. Scored a couple times, but really hasn't done much. Callum Wilson hasn't really scored much. So it's just not clicking right now. And hopefully Newcastle can see it out to at least make the top 6, and do that. In terms of Man City, Phil Foden's looking scary right now. I think he scored in his last 3 or 4 games in all comps. If they get him on form, and Pep is so good about this, of getting players in and out of form in terms of they may sit on the bench for a bit and then they'll be awesome. You see this a lot with, you have seen this before with Mahrez, where Mahrez hasn't, like, why isn't Mahrez starting this game? Why isn't he starting this game? The next thing you know, he goes on a five-game goal streak.
Yeah.
Same with Silva, right? Silva was about to be talked about leaving the club. He comes back, and I think it was the beginning of this season, goes on a goal-scoring streak. So Pep is so good about kind of inserting what seems like it's new signings into the team, but it's just players that he's kind of introduced back into the fray, and they're just taking it and going, with it there. And if Foden continues on this form, City are going to be hard to beat for the last 12 games.
Yeah, Newcastle's definitely lost the spark, which is kind of sad. But I do think even if they finish in the top 10 and they went to the Chupacabra Cup final, I think that's still a very successful season for Newcastle, considering it was a World Cup year and, they didn't have that great...
Very odd year, yeah.
They didn't have that great of a second half of a season. I think it's still will end the season on a high note, even if they're only in the top 10.
Not to rabbit hole this too much, but my concern for Newcastle is this sputtering out or lack of being able to keep the legs going. This is pretty reminiscent of Eddie Howe's tenure at Bournemouth too. Come out the gate swinging and then putter toward the end. And in the first year, you come from a team that had, almost gone bankrupt and everything else. And so just staying in the league looks like an amazing achievement. But I like him. I want him to do well. But we have not seen him coach a marathon before. So I'm curious to see how this Newcastle experiment goes.
We've seen him coach a marathon. We haven't seen him coach like a 10K marathon, right? All the way through, like a big, staying in the top 6 marathon.
Yeah, like he's
done
to
Premier
get
League seasons. He's done those type of things, but staying at that high level of play for 38 games amongst everything else that kind of incurs, we haven't seen that necessarily from him.
Yeah, obviously a huge achievement to leap leagues and get into the Premier League. I'm not knocking that at all. But as you said, to be elite in the elite, that's going to be tough. Moving on, a Palace own goal. Speaking of clubs that are just floundering right now.
Teeter-tottering there.
A Palace own goal is enough to hand Aston Villa a 1-0 victory at Villa Park to keep them in 11th. Unai Emery. I think Unai Emery would probably make a decent little team out of Villa next year, moving forward.
They're definitely kind of a work in progress.
Yeah. They got some players that can go on some streaks and that sort of thing. They've been on a fairly good run of form as of late. You'll probably see both these teams finish right there around there. 12th through 8th range.
The old Brighton Hove Albion spots. Remember those guys?
Speaking of them,
Brighton are still good, by the way, as they whooped West Ham 4-0 on the south coast of England. Not 7-0, but still good.
I don't think anybody wants to play Brighton at the current time.
No.
Like Man City, Arsenal, United, whoever. Nobody wants to play them because somehow they lose their head coach. They lose one of their best players, and they're still just whooping teams and just playing crazy.
Yeah, they're just dangerous, man. 43 goals for. Yeah, I mean, they're just... You said it. No one wants to play Brighton right now. Those dudes are fighting hard. And then to Ron's beloved Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea not only finally score, but they win. Not a Mudryk score. Did he even play? But they win a Wesley Fofana goal off a corner is just enough to earn.
He cost like 70 mil, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So they earned the Blues their first W in the league since January. Well, Ron,
this was interesting.
So much. Yeah.
Because at the very outset of the game, this was typical kind of Chelsea under Graham Potter. Lots of possession. Can't finish your chances. They created quite a few, but couldn't put any of them away until Fofana gets his head on one and puts it into the back of the net. And then, I don't know, somewhere in the 70th minute, Graham Potter channels his best Jose Mourinho and more or less parks the bus and makes a bunch of different substitutions, which I thought was indicative of how Potter's mind is working, in the sense that he's got to finish a game with a win.
Yeah.
And so the thing that was good about that was, I think it was a gamble, right? He makes the substitutions and relatively parks the bus, and wave after wave of pressure come at Chelsea. But they bend, they don't break. But they were also not... They just kept handing the ball back. They weren't able to break out on the counter. And I think what was interesting to watch about 10 minutes into that was that Potter brought Chukwuemeka in, and suddenly between him and Gallagher, they looked dangerous again. So it's very interesting how much the loss or the lack of a out and out number 9 is really hurting Chelsea, and the lack of good link up play with dangerous attacking players is, kind of
so many players going through. I'm like, geez, Louise, they're like, their injury list is about as long as their starters.
Right.
Then as you're talking about, Chukwuemeka comes in for Kovacic, Gallagher came in for Felix, Zachariah came in for Sterling, Manduki, I forgot about him, came in for Loftus-Cheek, Chalobah. Oh my gosh, there's a forgotten man, came in for Endo Fernandez, who you still had on the bench.
Yep.
Ziyech, Aubameyang, Bettinelli, Mudryk. I mean, just holy mackerel. Like, you're right, though. It's just Potter, which is, this is what Potter knows, though. Just scrapping out wins, right? He had to do it with Brighton for as many years.
But he's scrapping out wins like you would if you had a musket and a couple of grape shot, but instead what he has are smart missiles.
That's a Southern saying if I ever heard one.
And like Tomahawk missiles and aircraft carrier. That's what's sitting in his arsenal. And that's what's insane.
But you know what? For him, if that's what he knows how to do, and it gets points and it works, who cares?
Then don't spend. Well, then I mean,
he didn't necessarily spend that.
Who knows?
Though, right? He's not going out and saying, I want player 37 to come into the squad. So
the Mudryk thing is so weird because that's so much money for people to be like, oh, he's just a work in progress.
Don't worry. He's a work in progress for 8 years. Hey, he got a lot of time to be a work in progress.
Yes,
believe me. He may make his value in the last 4 years. Maybe not the first 4 years, but maybe in the last 4 years.
It was definitely an interesting thing to watch, that once we had gotten up, he was like, pack it in.
Hey, get the points. Let's get out of here with the win. Yeah. It worked. Not,
Yeah. And the interesting thing, though, is he's a hero in this respect, but could have easily been a zero.
It can go pear-shaped.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you pack it in with 20 minutes to go.
And you have Aubameyang on the bench. You have Mudryk on the bench. You have, 100%.
To be honest, Aubameyang
fair.
Couldn't find the net in the Premier League with a map and a compass.
Ziyech on the bench. I mean, there's a lot there.
So we'll when we get to Champions League, we can talk more about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Tottenham can't find the back of the net, but lubed up Adam Traore. What did you write? Sorry.
Do you see him every time he comes in? He looks like he's either like getting ready to hop into like a tanning bed, or he's getting ready to film some like XXX scene with just being lubed. Like it is ridiculous.
Is it bodybuilders that get that oiled up before
that too? Yeah,
right?
Because. Yeah, and he does it because of how fast he is, and people try to grab onto him, and I guess you can't, but like it never works. But he actually scored a goal in this.
It's not trying to catch a greased pig that you wrote the sentence, but lubed up Adama Traore did. That name, last name's hard for him. Wow. But they did. As the Wolves, they win 1-0 at Molineux. Hey Guys,
Wolves on a good little streak here.
Yeah, you know who's not on a good streak?
Tottenham.
So. March 1st, month of March, not going well. March 1st, Sheffield United beat them 1-0 FA Cup, 5th round. March 4th, the Wolves beat them. And as I'm sure you'll mention, they draw to Milan, and now they're out of the Champions League as of today.
Hey, boom. I don't have to say that again. We've already said it.
Jeez.
Yep.
So here's the question.
Jeez.
There is rumor flying about that it is likely Antonio Conte will be done at the end of the season,
I think
either of his own volition or the team's,
I think so.
whichever. But there is a lot of rumor about bringing Pochettino back.
I hope so. God, I hope so. Blake, I know you hope so too.
I mean, I do. I like.
I know
Are
you
you
do.
kidding? Or Mourinho? I'll take either one.
Mourinho,
one.
He was at Spurs, wasn't he? I was about to say
Yeah.
he'll never go to Spurs. He was at Spurs. Oh my God, I forgot how many. Pochettino. I don't think. When Harry Kane goes to Manchester United, it's who is Pochettino going to bring along from the bottom, academy teams that he will once again not in with.
I think Tottenham's just cursed. It doesn't matter who they
Right
get.
now, it certainly seems that way.
You love to hear a Chelsea fan even say it. It's great. It's just great.
As at some point in our Premier League Slack channel, United just getting bashed, blah blah blah, back and forth, and then somebody goes, "You know what? We all can agree on. At least Tottenham lost. Like regardless of any of the other results, well, at least Tottenham won't lose. Won't win a damn thing, and at least they lost.
That's at 18
I mean,
points.
if there's one thing you can count on, it's that Tottenham is not going to win anything.
Yeah,
So Spursy right now. 18 points below Arsenal. You love to see it. Sorry, Spurs fans. You're listening to the pod by your own choice.
So when was St. Totteringham's Day? Is it gone already?
Well, no,
it might be.
it's coming soon.
Yeah.
Speaking of, by the way,
mathematically, it might just happen that way.
Tottenham's next matches are Nottingham Forest, Southampton, then Everton before they reach Brighton.
Loss.
That's what I was just
lost,
thinking.
lost, draw.
Right.
That's exactly what it could be.
This should be the opportunity to pick up, but I don't know. I mean, Nottingham did draw City, so we'll see.
They drew City. They beat Liverpool. I mean, they've had some good
They
results.
beat Chelsea.
I don't
Beat
think
Chelsea. I don't know if they did.
Chelsea was terrible.
not that anyone should look at a game and think it's going to be easy, but I don't think, especially those clubs fighting relegation, those don't give me matches at all for any team. So Spurs are going to have to sharpen up them beaks. Speaking of Southampton, they move off the bottom of the table as they beat Leicester 1-0. Speaking of Leicester, maybe they belong at the bottom of that table. They were limp over at St. Mary's.
And a missed pen, too. Like James Ward-Prowse can hit a hell of a free kick, cannot hit a pen to save his life. Southampton may just get out of this damn thing. I don't know.
It would be.
I mean, they're 1 point off of safety right now.
Did Ron vote for them again to get relegated?
Like 100%. He for the past 6 years, he's voted for Southampton.
I did not vote for them this year
let me
because
check.
I said every year I vote for them, and every year
You might have
they
said that, actually.
squeak out. So this year I'm not voting for them.
Carry
well,
on, Blake. I'm
I'm curious.
I'm
If-
like
if-
90% sure that's
I'll fact check that.
Did Ron throw the curse? Speaking of the rest of the bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest and Everton play out a fun 2-2 match as points are shared as a point a game, but not a point which moves either them and the table anywhere. And then finally on Monday, the two London clubs battle it out as Brentford's Bees emerge victorious by a scoreline of 3-2 over Fulham at is that Tech Community Stadium? How do you say that?
G-Tech.
G-Tech.
G-Tech Communities, because it was the Brentford Community Stadium last year, and then we actually, Phil and I, on the way to, what airport is that? Heathrow. We drove by that thing. I think it's massive. It's cool, man.
And let's see, Everton's sitting at 22 points. I wanted to double check that. Everton looking like they maybe could rescue themselves, but if they do, watch it come down to Leicester that saves the day.
right. Leicester drops
Sure.
in so Everton could get out.
Yeah.
Right.
Because right now, I got to say, of the Leeds, West Ham, Leicester, Nottingham, and Wolves from 13th to 17th, it's Leicester that's the problem.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest have successfully pulled themselves from last place over a gradual last half of the season. So they're not in contention anymore.
All right. You want the Premier League predictions?
I just want to know if I was right.
Were you right?
Or
I don't think I voted for Southampton to go down.
I think you decided not to for a change.
I think you're right. Me and Blake did. Ron, you did not actually. You had Everton, Bournemouth, and Fulham. Both you and Blake had Fulham. Both of you aren't looking too good. I'm probably looking the best right now at Everton, Bournemouth, and Southampton could go down.
Nice. Yeah, it's 18, 19,
yeah.
20 as it
Woof.
stands. Yeah, because every time, for the past like 3 or 4 years, I voted for Southampton. And they always end up mid-table somewhere.
Who was the first manager sacked?
Southampton, wasn't it?
Because we've all had Frank Lampard.
Who was the first?
You're right. It might have been Husenhuddle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
You're
right.
It might have been him. I don't know. Sorry.
It wasn't Frank. It didn't happen until,
Yeah. I don't think it was Frank, but we all had him. Sorry, Frankie.
Was that
Frank Lampard was the first manager sacked.
We're all right. Woohoo! Boys, give yourself a pat on the back for that one. Yes. We all chose that one.
Late January, after 11 defeats in 14.
Became the first manager sacked in the Premier League?
Yep. It took till January.
Then it was
sure?
It was a
That's
domino.
what this says.
Wait. Of 2023 or 2020? Because the season.
Oh, yeah, that's
you know
true.
What?
This is casualty of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Hold on, I'll keep checking.
yeah, I don't think that quite gets us there.
So remove that pat from the back.
Well, that knocks us out of the Premier League and moving on to the purveyor of purloined pork and the swindler of swine, the swami of swine. How about that? The Prince of Pork Roll, Mr. Ron, for the beer news.
So, while I was in Vancouver, I checked out a whole bunch. I mean, Vancouver is a brewery city. I went to a bunch of different breweries. I went to Red Truck in Vancouver itself.
At the Red Truck. I'm not going to go into the rest of that one.
And
Google something about that. You'll figure it out.
a friend of ours is the maintenance tech on the canning and bottling line.
Oh, that's cool.
So he got me in there to really get a nice tour of everything, and that was a lot of fun. And then one of my favorite breweries that we went to is a place called Backcountry Brewing in Squamish, Vancouver, which
Damn near killed him.
it's about halfway between Vancouver and Whistler, this town called Squamish. And these guys have a ton of personality. They have a Pilsner that I was absolutely in love with called could you describe the Ruckus, sir?
Amazing.
Now, I'll give one of you 10 points if you can guess the movie that is from. And Ferris goes first.
Animal House.
Okay, Blake?
Porkies?
No. I'll give you a hint. They're all in detention.
How's it?
What's
Is it Breakfast Club?
Breakfast Club?
Breakfast Club.
There you go. I wasn't too far off with Animal House. No, I kind of was. But anyways.
So the description of the beer from their website is, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole month in the fermenter for whatever it is we did wrong. But we think you're crazy for making us write an essay telling you who we think we are. You see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms, in the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brewer and a bartender and a delivery driver and a salesman and a coordinator. Does that answer your question?
Well done.
Which is the letter at the end of the Breakfast Club.
Yes. That's great.
Absolutely brilliant. And that Pilsner was phenomenal. It is on my top 3 all time for Pilsners. So
awesome.
Flipping good. And then I skied a bunch and had a ton of beer. And then I snowmobiled and had a bunch of beer. And I was there with about 8 other friends of ours. And in an après-ski, 4 of these gentlemen spent 1,200 Canadian getting blasted on an après-ski with sparkler champagne bottles, and they did every shot known to man, including Vegas bombs and Irish car bombs and you name it bombs.
Was one of our favorite Man City Canadian there?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately. No.
I mean, it sounded like something he'd be part of. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
well, you do know. Almost a year ago to the date, we were in Chicago.
Yeah.
Drinking Malort.
Malort, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Blake, for reminding us all that. I was just saying, hey, it was good times in Chicago. We all had fun, but no, you want to bring that up?
I saw someone that I know that I have known I don't know that they have any connection to Malort say on one of the social media timelines, like, my God, I miss a good Malort right now. And I was like, unfriend.
Well, you know what's weird?
Unfriend.
I just got a friend request from a fellow bartender in the area that works down at Broken Strings in Sun Creek, and he has Malort as his Instagram like profile picture. And I was like, Tom, I almost didn't accept you because of that alone. He's like, no, I will make you like it. And I was like, you will?
No, that'll never happen.
He goes, hold on. I'm going to read you his exact message as to what he sent me today. And I just replied like emoji. He goes, you'll soon be sipping it on the rocks, my man. An after work delight, a drink by the pool, a lovely nightcap. I responded with the throw up face for the first, the thumbs down for the second, the Italian hands for the third, and then whatever this new like straight face weird emoji thing is on nightcap. So weird.
That is the if Ferris ever texts the Brutal Game chat thread, I just had the best Malort. Ron and I are immediately calling 911. Like that's like that is the
send help. Yeah, SOS. Yeah, that's exactly what that means.
Yeah, that's the call for help.
Absolutely.
That's the safe word, right?
Yeah.
That's
oh my God.
Yeah, so go check out our Untapped and all of our stories for a bunch of different beers that I had while I was in Vancouver. If you ever get the chance, it's a beer happening town.
Love it.
It's basically the Asheville of Canada.
Love it.
From a beer standpoint.
Love it.
And then
I need to get back out there.
Then real quick, we're going to have our second beer of the pod. And because I was in the mountains, we're going to have the new Belgium Mountain Time Premier Lager, which is quite a good one. It's 4.4 on the old ABVs because the last 9.9%er that we had made Ferris and I scream at each other.
Yeah, we literally downed those beer. Like we've been sitting without a beer for about 20 minutes now because during the course of us yelling at each other, we both were doing sip after sip. It was like you yell sip, I yell sip, you yell sip, I'll out sip you, and then it just kind of went back and forth from there.
Amazing.
We've had New Belgium on the pod previously. We've had a bunch of their beers on. So this is their latest premium lager at 4.4% ABV. It's a pale Pilsner malt with Nugget, Willamette, and Cascade hops. And the can art is pretty slick, as you can see right there. Nice line art. And we're going to chug this one down. Well, maybe not chug, but
I'll add an addendum. Ron, it's beer news. It's beer news. Ron sent me. You sent that bracket thing for favorite brewery in Knoxville. There was like a
Isn't
survey.
that cool?
Yeah, where they did we had talked about doing for our beers in the World Cup a World Cup or two ago, but they did a bracket for all the breweries in Knoxville and had people vote and break it down like an NCAA bracket. And so yeah, I went in and voted. Most of them I'd had. But if anyone does social media for beer stuff that's listening, do that more at other locations. That's awesome. That's cool.
That's awesome. It's really cool how they laid it out and how fun it was to. I didn't vote for any of them because I haven't had half of them, but it was cool the way that whole thing was laid out. Shall we,
my friend?
Cheers, bud.
Yeah, I'm doing another can.
I love a good spicy pie without a mention of Saka for Ferris is pretty rare these days. Yeah.
Ooh, what a good clean
The pod's
beer.
not over yet.
Good clean beer.
Oh yeah, just clean, crisp. Bingo bango.
Oh, Ferris. Just like that Malort, one day you're going to love the Star Boy.
God almighty. Yeah, sure.
Well, why don't you roll us into the ligas for some Champions League?
Champions. Yeah, we're kind of quick through this as we got a lot. We have a lot to go over, but yeah, we should be able to run through this. The Champions round of 16. I've seen a few different teams go out and go through to the quarterfinal round. Yesterday, which was Tuesday, as we're recording this pod on Wednesday, a little bit behind schedule, but gave us a chance to get through all of the Champions League games. So all worked out. Benfica they never let their 2-0 aggregate lead in doubt as they added another 5. Yes, 5 more to the Portuguese Giants total aggregate as they won 7-1 against Club Brugge, and it was a rout. It was an absolute rout. They just Scotty Parker was manager at Club Brugge as of yesterday. He is no longer manager of Club Brugge today, and that is a fact.
He gone.
What
is it? What was it?
It was like 12 matches or something.
Yeah, was just he's on the slide. So
yep,
out.
There you go. Also yesterday, same day, Chelsea Football Club go through to the next round as they came from behind a 1-0 aggregate to put 2 past Borussia Dortmund, winning 2-0 at Stamford Bridge, and 2-1 on the final aggregate. So may not have won a lot, may not have scored a lot, but Chelsea going through to the quarters of the Champions League.
Real quick, Ferris and I were talking about this last night, that the retake of the penalty was questionable.
Odd.
Yeah. And so I did a bunch of homework today and found out that the reason that happened is because there were 3 Chelsea players who were encroaching and in front of 2 Borussia Dortmund players who were also encroaching before the ball was kicked on the penalty, right? So everybody says, well, it's Chelsea who were encroaching first, so they shouldn't have the penalty. They shouldn't have been able to retake the penalty. But here's the rule of why they did. The ball goes off the post on the penalty kick from Havertz and comes back into the field of play. It does not go out of bounds. If it goes out of bounds, Chelsea miss it, and it doesn't matter. However, it bounces back into the field of play, and the first player to touch it and clear it is the Borussia Dortmund player who was encroached.
So if it was a Chelsea player that cleared it?
It would have
stood.
It would have stood, thank you, as a missed penalty.
No kidding.
But because it was the Borussia Dortmund player who cleared it to prevent any
and
Chelsea
they were
player
encroaching.
from
Had they not encroached at all, and it was just Chelsea players encroaching, and they touched it, it would have stood.
Yeah.
So that actually makes sense.
So
It makes
that was
sense.
kind of the
You know why?
that was
It's not Premier League refs.
That's fair.
That's why it made sense.
You're not asking Darren Gallagher to give us a ruling on it.
so that's the reasoning
okay.
behind it.
Okay. Premier League refs would jack that up so easy, though. Oh my god,
Yeah.
There'd be a free kick outside of the box for something that was encroachment inside the box, and you'd be like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, I don't remember who the ref was.
You know, and as I told Ron yesterday, Chelsea earned that win. I mean, they were on Dortmund from the start. Dortmund fans showed up like as soon as like the whistle went, the marching down the street, the smoke everywhere, yellow smoke was awesome. Just Dortmund didn't show up, and they had the longest win streak in all the top 5 leagues. They were on like an 11 game run up until that. Just football is just such a. You never know what to expect. It's
What
just
if
such a
Chelsea-
weird
Yeah.
game.
What if Chelsea finished like 12th but win the Champions League? What's the lowest someone's ever been in their own league and won the Champions
Yeah.
League?
Didn't Mourinho do it that one year? Or no, what did he? Oh, no, maybe he didn't. I don't know. That's a good
Tuchel
question.
did with Chelsea. We had a lot of stutter steps the whole way
Yeah.
and end up beating Manchester City.
Well, and that's another thing. Stutter stepping on a penalty. Well, why do it? That's what happened with Havertz here. Just
I don't know,
just don't.
run and kick.
Don't.
The ref was Danny McKelly from the Dutch league.
And it was VAR though, right?
It was VAR.
yeah.
Again,
Well,
but it
and
wasn't.
It was a bang on like handball. Like that's you. I don't understand the controversy about the handball at all. It was a handball.
Yeah.
Other side of London today, as Blake mentioned, Tottenham Hotspur, they did not score at all. Neither did AC Milan, which means that AC Milan's 1-0 win in their first leg was enough to get them through. And Tottenham, once again, out of the Champions League and more than likely trophyless again, unless they, I don't know, somehow win the Premier League, which can you imagine the odds on that? Holy
relatively
mackerel.
unlikely.
There you go. And then finally today, a Neymar-less PSG couldn't get past Matthias de Ligt and Jan Sommer. Matthias de Ligt, center back for Bayern Munich, and Jan Sommer, goalkeeper for Bayern since the injury of Neuer. They just couldn't get past the German Giants as they held the fort on their 1-goal aggregate lead, but even added 2 more to dump Messi, Mbappe, and the rest of the gang out of the Champions League. So this whole thing that PSG wanted to do and to assemble this front three, yes, there was no Neymar in this. I don't know if he would have made that much of a difference in this match, but still without a Champions League victory.
Bye-bye.
There you go. We got some other Champions League going on here. The CONCACAF Champions League, and the round of 16 kicked off in that this week. Yesterday, first up, our very own Orlando City get a great 0-0 result, probably the best 0-0 that I can think of in a long time, away to Mexican powerhouse Tigres over there in the beautiful Estadio Universitario Stadium in Monterrey, Mexico. It was City packing it in and just doing the best they can. Galissi made a crap ton of saves, and that's a great result on the road. And the home leg is this Wednesday at Exploria Stadium, and I will certainly be in attendance for that because that's going to be awesome and gives us a chance to maybe even get through against the toughest draw in the whole tournament.
Yeah, that's easily the toughest draw. And if we could sneak past those guys, ooh, what a feather in the cap.
Who cares what happens in the next? Just like,
yeah, exactly.
You showed up for the first time and you said, hey, we can play with them. And, and mind you got to keep in mind as we go through another few results here. MLS have just started their season. They're 2 games in.
Yeah.
Mexican League is halfway through their season.
Yeah.
It's almost like our calendar in the MLS sucks. We can talk about it if you want.
I didn't even want to say it because I knew it was going to come out of Blake's mouth. Moving on to another 0-0 result that happened down in El Salvador at Allianz FC, and Philadelphia Union played out another spirited 0-0 draw, which saw a lot of the similar stat lines, and they'll come back to Philly in a week's time as well. And then lastly, on Tuesday, Austin FC, their dismal start to their season continue as what is, for all intents and purposes, a Haitian powerhouse. And as a caller into the United States of Soccer said today, they're like the Real Madrid of Haitian soccer. Violet AC smoked essentially the B squad of Austin 3-0 in the Dominican Stadium of Estadio Cibra. Not a good start for Austin so far this season. It was their B squad, but they now have to make up 3 goals in Austin when that Haitian side comes here. So that's for a team that had a lot of expectations going into the season. That not good.
Yeah, that's crazy. So many lost one, drew one. They lost to St. Louis, the league newcomers.
Just yeah. And then lastly, today you had some games going on. Results are just kind of occurred. Leon in Mexico beat Taro FC, and I can't for the life of me figure out where Taro is right now. But they beat him 1-0, a Marino goal in the 55th, or Moreno goal, sorry. And Leon, Tigres right now are second in Liga MX, and Leon are 7th. And moving on to another Mexican team, they got not smoke showed, but they did lose 4-1 today to Honduras side CD Olympia. 4-1. Goals in the 10th minute, 55th, 73rd, and 61st were just enough to really seal the deal. 3 of those goals coming after it was 1-1 after the 15th minute. So Atlantis all to do in the second game. because they have to make a 3-goal come from behind there. Then currently right now at halftime, Vancouver Whitecaps are up 1-0 over Real España. Real España are a Honduran team. They're currently 5th in their domestic table, but obviously must have won last year to qualify for this. Or they must have played somewhere in the top 6, I think is what theirs is. And probably by the next pod, we may not have full results on the round of 16 for the CONCACAF Champions League. There'll probably be 2 more pods, but a league that is not up to the UEFA Champions League, but a league that is different and exciting in its own right, and can't wait to see it here in our own backyard next Wednesday.
I'm jealous.
I know, man.
I'll be in China, but I want to go.
I wish I was at that one. That's
Blake,
awesome.
you want to fly down for that one?
Just real quick. Yeah, I know. We're opening a new event over here, so I can't get away. It's all right though. It's for we're drinking Irish beers and listening to Irish music, so I'll be thinking about you.
There you go.
So yeah, it'll be nice and proper. Like, well, gents, I think that wraps us up for the pod. As our beers I had the Check Yourself from Pontoon Brewing out in Georgia, delicious pilsner.
We had our first beer of the pod was the Goose Island Tropical Beer Hug, Imperial IPA, double dry hopped at 9.9%. And then our second beer for the pod here was the New Belgian Mountain Time Premium Lager. Super tasty.
Ferris is trying to find himself a Zlatan quote.
Oh no, I got the 2 best people in soccer. Zlatan really does adore Jose Mourinho, as he once said, Mourinho would become a guy I basically willing to die for. You just love seeing that, like just 2 assholes just in love with each other. Isn't that great?
He's a special one.
He's a special one, and Zlatan's the god of all.
You said it. Well, you guys know, got a new guy at work. He's from England. And I was telling him, throwing over here, we were at this convention in Kentucky. We got to catch the elevator. And he said, in Europe, we call it a lift. I said, in America, we call it an elevator. And he just looked at me and said, well, we're just raised differently.
You've had some good ones, Blake. You've had some good ones.
Well, before we sign off, I just want to leave you with your moment of zen again from our international reporter having to report on Manchester United.
English Premier League. Manchester United.
What is that right there?
He snorts.
He does, yes. Who is this?
Blake is peeing his pants.
Yes. Apologize. I'm continue.
I just love it. Dude can't hold it.
Oh, is that? I think I saw this on Instagram, and it's a reporter who is trying to recap the game like
Yes.
on a news conference.
Yes.
And then he
He just loses it.
pees his pants.
I can listen to that and watch it over and over. I'm sure someone will tell me it's deep faked and cut in and not real. I don't care. His laugh makes my day.
It is quite. The snort really makes it.
It's the snort that makes it. All right, Ferris, until it turns around and you're making fun of us for a ridiculous score line. It'll happen again.
It happens. Isn't there a shirt after that? Or
Football, she's a crazy.
she is a crazy. She is a crazy.
All right, gents.
Real quick, NWSL coming to FIFA 23
Yeah.
next Wednesday, I believe, the 15th. Pretty freaking cool. That's awesome.
That is super awesome, and I cannot wait. I thank you for saying something. I meant to say something about that in this pod.
And one last thing. Sorry, this is probably the actual last thing. I have to congratulate Blake because Arsenal beat Chelsea in the Women's Conti Cup final.
Yes,
They did.
3-1.
They did.
Goals by Sam Kerr on the Chelsea side. Chelsea just
Yep. And then it's
didn't work out.
it's Chelsea are 1 point behind United in the league table.
Yeah.
So that league's quite interesting as well.
All right, gents. I think that wraps us all up. Here we go. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The Brutiful Game.
You a lot.